I think in totality of all of America, or maybe the world, when I look at auto racing, it seems like the dirt super late models are like the greatest thing in racing. It's just skyrocketing. Everything's better. It's more money to win. Am I wrong or right? Or just comment on that.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I think, and I don't even think it's just dirt late models. I mean, we did the Dirt Million last year at Eldora for the late models. This year,
and you own Eldora.
Yeah.
Forgot about that one too.
We're doing $1 million to win wing sprint car race this year. So dirt races, they're going through the roof. I mean, Jackson, Minnesota is doing a $250,000 to win wing sprint car race. You know, the purses are getting higher and higher and higher in short track racing, which is great, but it has to. The technology in the dirt late models is way out of control now. I mean, Kevin Rumley is the guy that really started revolutionizing modern late models now to where they're at.
The Ray Evernham of dirt.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the best way you could say it. But he has taught these guys, you know, our world, we learned about downforce. We didn't think anything about side force. And then when we learned about side force, it was a game changer in NASCAR racing. Well, now they brought that technology to dirt late model racing. And you watch cars, I literally remember, and this might have been 5 years ago even, I remember watching Jonathan Davenport at the World 100, got the lead and was driving off from the field. He caught the back of the pack and couldn't pass the last place car.
Yeah.
It was so air dependent that it was no different than what we complain about as drivers in the Cup Series and what you see in IndyCar and Formula One about being air dependent. So it really shows how the technology has changed in the dirt late model world. Sprint cars are the same way, always have been because of the big wings on top. But wing sprint cars, dirt late models, and even the modifieds now. I mean, I sat there and looked at the car. I was watching the broadcast, watching Kyle Larson win in Justin Allgaier's car at Eldora.
Yeah, me too.
And I looked at that thing in victory lane and I'm like, man, 15 years ago, that would have been the most cheated up race car you've ever seen in your life. But it was brilliant. I'm looking at it, I'm like, that was done really nice. That was done really nice. That was done really nice. And I'm just watching it on the computer. But then you watch the car go around the racetrack and you're like, yeah, that's why it drives nice too, because of how good a job Justin and his crew and his team have done at building a car that is totally legal.
The right side was beautiful.
Oh, I mean, we know what we're looking at when you and I look at it and we're like, that's pretty damn sexy right there. I mean, that's getting it done.
Yeah. So you talk about you and I watching the races. 10 years ago, myself and Bob Sargent were driving up Interstate 55 North, and we're trying to figure out if Flow or Dirt Vision streaming is good for the sport. What's your opinion on, all the new streaming sites?
Well, Dirt Vision started it with the sprint cars and then went to the late models and the big blocks. And then here came Flow Sports. Yeah. And they have revolutionized, and it's been a game changer for short track racing. Not only just short track racing, I mean, they're now moving into drag racing. You name it, they're in it. And when somebody first said Flow, I said, okay, well, what is it? And they said, well, you just got to kind of look. I mean, there's everything from marching band competitions.
Yeah.
It started with 3 guys and 2 of the brothers. One was a wrestler and one was in track and field. So they do high school track and field, high school wrestling, college track and field, college wrestling, and everything in between, jiu-jitsu, you name it, they cover it. If it's sports, they're covering it. And to bring the motorsports aspect, I mean, Mark and his staff have totally changed the game of how fans have the opportunity to watch races. We all, you live in St. Louis, I live in Indiana or Arizona, depending on what half of the country we're on racing that weekend, but we can't drive to all these racetracks, but we have the ability to go to a track and at the same time on our phone be watching another race when there's downtime. So we have the ability to enjoy more and more and more motorsports, and it's all cataloged so you can go back and watch it. For Flow to do what they've done, to give the fans an opportunity for $150 a year to have all of their content. I mean, if you want to watch, if you're like, oh, I bought it for the racing, but Yeah, my kid's into, you know, my 5-year-old's into the
Girls softball.
yeah, you can watch it and all of it, and it's crazy. And I think Flow has really been a game changer. I love what they're doing. You know, it's kind of created a storm in our sport, though. The track operators and owners are fearful that because of that, people aren't going to come to the racetrack. Well, if you live in Skagit, Washington, you're not coming Tuesday night to Eldora.
Right.
You can still watch it.
Right.
So I don't feel like it hurts the tracks, and I hope it doesn't hurt the tracks as bad as we are talking about. But it's great for the teams. It's great for the drivers. It gets them that exposure. You know, it really helps showcase their talent and stuff. So we as owners and team owners and series owners, we get to watch these young and up and coming guys. And it's hard to sit there and go, well, yeah, I don't know anything about him. Well, yeah, I got to see him Tuesday night, or I can go back and pull up a race and watch him run. That's stuff we didn't have access to years ago. So I'm a big fan of it right now.
Yeah, I think it's good too, because we don't have to rely. Listen, we always say we want everybody at the racetrack, but
yes, and we still do. I mean, that is the most important thing. What people don't realize is it's an ecosystem, and for all this to work, you can't just sit at home and watch it on streaming and this to be sustainable. You still have to go to the racetrack. You got to support your local tracks, because you got companies like Copart that are going in and buying racetracks left and right. And the reason they're doing that is because they can bring all their cars there, and they don't have to worry about EPA, because just about every racetrack's got oil and stuff in the dirt, and it's an EPA nightmare. But they can buy the property because it's already that way. So they go in and they're shutting racetracks down to expand their business. They don't care about motorsports. They just care about building their.
I never knew this. This is interesting.
Yeah, this is something Mike Joy pointed out to me. Copart is a big factor in buying up a lot of racetracks that are struggling right now. And, you know, it's for these track operators and owners that are struggling. It's a way out for them, unfortunately, but it's shutting down racetracks across the country because
Legendary Boyd's just shut down.
Yeah, and Copart is buying a lot of these racetracks and turning them into salvage yards.
Wow, I never knew that. Mistakenly, you have reminded me everything you're doing, my Lord. Eldora, sprint cars, drag cars, cup cars. It's unbelievable. Congratulations on all your success. Congratulations on, once again, being one of the greatest race car drivers to ever live with NASCAR 75, but there's so much more to you than that.
Well, I appreciate all that. Thank you so much. And I would, anytime you call, I've done your brother's podcast. And when you sent me the message, I'm like, I didn't know what my schedule was the rest of the week initially, but I'm like, yeah, I'm 100% all in doing this with you. But I'd say one of the proudest moments of my life in my years of NASCAR, and I can't take all the credit. Kenny Schrader gets a lot of the credit as well. Kenny Schrader and I talking you into getting into dirt track racing.
Yeah.
And getting you in dirt cars. And then a whole new Kenny Wallace came out of his shell. And to see that and be a part of that, that's probably one of my greatest accomplishments in motorsports is introducing you to dirt track racing and getting you hooked on it. I know
you saved my life.
I'm proud of that. Seeing you, I was working the track at Tulsa at the Chili Bowl, and seeing you in a midget the first time.
You helped me.
There was no happier moment. I was like a proud father watching you every
I was twitching the wheel too much. You helped me.
But you were learning. But just the fact that your background was always pavement racing and NASCAR racing, and we got you into something that you've really became passionate and happy with, and to see that in you truly has made me happy as your friend, to see you enjoying dirt track racing and other forms of motorsports like we do.
I'm smiling from ear to ear. I'll never forget that. We won your 2005 Prelude to the Dream.
And I ran my ass off trying to catch you, and you just drove away. And I had Don O'Neill as my crew chief that night. And he was I won't say he was mad at me, but he was frustrated. And I'm like, Don, I tried everything I've ever learned in a race car to catch him. I said, I know this track better than anybody in the field. I said, I did everything in my power, and he just ran a perfect race. He never made a mistake, and you didn't. You ran every lap flawlessly.
So you looked at me in Victory Lane. You said, "What was that all about?" I think I said to you, "Maybe I should have been a dirt racer."
I thought it was like an out-of-body experience for you.
It was.
It was crazy. But, man, like I said, though, I mean, I wish the fans, and the fans know you now for who you are and how they know your personality, and you've always had that personality, but to see you smile and how much fun you're having, you have broke out of the shell and the shadow of your brothers. I know you always say you're the third brother, but you're not. You're your own man, and you're your own Wallace. You have built that. So you need to embrace that and start embracing it, because you're not Rusty's brother. You're not Mike's brother. By God, you're Kenny damn Wallace, and you're you, man. I mean, you made a huge impact on so many people.
I needed that. That was great therapy. Tony, listen, thank you so much.